Welcome back to another episode of the eReads podcast. My name is Liz, and I'm your host. And this is my podcast where I talk about books, authorship, and all the different parts of the creative process. Today is an exciting episode because I have two wonderful guests, Kate and Jess from Tabletop Publishing. These ladies are former teachers who have taken the children's book publishing industry by storm. I just adore their process, their thoughtfulness when it comes to creating books for children and their excitement for making kids want to read. So I can't wait for you to learn a little bit more about them. But I'm also excited because fast forward, they also become my publishers of my very first children's book, which will be available in the near future. So stay tuned for more information on that as well. So now that you know a little bit about Kate and Jess, let's jump right into the episode so that we all can learn more about the world of being a publisher of children's books. Welcome, Jessica. Welcome, Kate. How are you, wonderful people?
I'm doing great. It's exciting to be here and to talk about all this fun book stuff.
Yes. How about you, Jessica? How are you doing?
Great. I'm so excited to be doing this. How are you?
Thank you for asking. I'm doing really well. I'm so excited. I have so many questions because not only are you on the publishing side, you are women in the publishing side, which is really amazing. So welcome. Right, throw that hair. So to welcome everyone to the show, I like to start with what I call is a bookish question, just something about books that is light and fun. So we ready to go?
Yes.
Okay. So it's around lunchtime where I am. So I thought I would ask something around food. So sometimes I might ask what is if you're describe your book like a drink or like a food or whatever. But I'm curious, publishing, what if you had to describe that as a food or a drink? What is that like?
Pop rocks. That's what I will say. The world of publishing is like pop rocks for me. It's a little sweet, it's a little sour. You never know what to expect, and it's fast.
Love it. What about for you?
That's a good analogy. I was thinking 7-course dinner where you just keep getting stuff that you don't know what it is, but you figure it out and it's still good with each course that comes in, but still you just you figure it out as you go with each book. So it's interesting because new things, new ideas, all these things are thrown out of you, and it's super creative, like a gourmet dish. So I would say like a 7-course meal.
Ooh, I like that. Right. So there's there's a lot of different parts of the publishing, which I cannot wait to ask you ladies about. But first, how did this start? How, did you always want to jump into the publishing? What is the story?
Do you want to take this, Jessica, or do you want me to?
Okay, it doesn't matter. Teachers in North Carolina together. That's how we met. We were both there because our husbands were stationed there. And so she's Army, I'm Marine Corps. So we end up at the school and we end up teaching the same grade, and we end up becoming best friends throughout the year. And that was so special. And we decided, oh, what we've been doing is really cool. We should do some sell our lessons that we've created this year because they're really cool and innovative. And then we kind of pumped each other up. And then I was making a new lesson plan for a friend who asked me, and so I ended up writing books. And then Kate was like, these have to be published, and I'm like, I'm scared to publish. And so she's like, we can do this. And so we learned everything that we could. Kate did massive research, and our educational business slowly turned into where we were making blogs and videos and lessons, turned into focusing on books. And then we were like, wait a minute, our books can have lessons, our books can have activities. So it kept evolving. And we ended up making it a business during the pandemic and really diving into this whole publishing side during probably the worst time to try to do it. But we did it, and we've been successful is because we're best friends, because we support each other, because we root each other on, and we love what we do, and we're really passionate about literacy.
Yes. And just to like jump in there and continue talking about that, I will say, okay, so like the first book that we published was When I'm Feeling Red, which is this book right here. If you're in the video, then you can see it. And I actually illustrated the book, and Jessica wrote the book, and we just had a lot of fun with it. So it's all about social emotional learning and trying to figure out how to teach your little kids about processing anger and how to move through their anger, not necessarily that there's anything wrong with it, but to accept it and to process it, to recognize it, and to deal with it in a healthy way. And one of the things that's super special is we don't just have a story here. We also include discussion questions to help teachers or parents talk to their kids about the thing that's going on in the book. And so this was our first book that we put out, which quickly was followed by When I'm Feeling Blue, which is all about sadness. And from there, it just kind of blew up into what we have now, where all of our books are focusing on something social emotional learning and something that is to help the development of children. And again, we like to incorporate as much educational materials and resources into the books as well.
That is like really cool. So again, like you are pairing this love of teaching and this love of literacy, and I love the discussion questions, right? Because sometimes, for parents, it could be hard on how to have these conversations, or, again, giving teachers the tools and the confidence to be able to say, hey, like, yes, you're on the right path. Look, these are the questions and these are the things. So I love that. I'm also curious, you talked about, you, Kate, did the illustrations. Jessica, you kind of came up with the concept. Is that kind of like how it works? Tell us about, this side of the business, what each of you do.
Okay, so I'll jump in here. And I did start off helping the illustration process with Red and Blue, but those are the only two books I've actually illustrated. I'm more of the business side of things. As we continue to grow, it just became more apparent that we needed someone who's going to like be in that seat, who's going to make sure that we do all the business stuff right and on time and accurately and things like that. So I kind of handle a lot of, the marketing and the sales reports and all of the business stuff. And then Jessica is our wonderful creative side of the business. She handles a lot of, she works with our other illustrators. We actually currently have 8 illustrators that we work with for all of our books. And we have 16 authors that are signed with us currently. So she kind of helps manage the author illustrator relationship and make sure that the illustrations are what we want. So if we need any revisions or edits, she sees that a lot better than I do. And I see more of like the long-term scale of where we're going as a publishing house.
Oh, I love that.
I have so much fun as the creative director. I get to bounce ideas off of Kate. She's not, not participating, and I send it to her. That I get to have the final say, but I really need her. She's always been my soundboard since we were educating. Like, we always do better together as a team. But I have a blast like picking out fonts and placing it on there on the covers. So it doesn't matter who the illustrator is. I get to make that title pop, and I get to be creative, and that's super fun for me. And it's very just, it fills my soul to get to do that kind of stuff. So I'm really grateful that I get to be on the creative side, and that I have my yin to yang in Kate. And so, yeah.
It seems like a really good partnership that you both have, and you both kind of get to do the areas that you love, and that really, I like that, like kind of make your soul smile.
Yes, 100%. And she definitely helps me. Like, I'll soundboard ideas for business and growth and marketing off of her, and she helps me with that. And then I help her with the creative stuff. Like, we'll work together on coming up with the cover pages and the way that the page layouts are. And that's one thing that I don't think a lot of people understand is when you're publishing a book, every single word on a page is 100% intentional. There is no accident, So it's important to like have someone that you trust, who you believe is going to give you an honest feedback on what a page looks like and what the whole book together looks like and how it works. Because again, we're not just writing books just to write books. We are creating experiences for these kids that we hope engages them and makes them want to love reading. And so every single page and element is critical to what we're doing. So it's a perfect team.
Absolutely. Oh, go ahead, Jessica.
Well, you just reminded me of the fact that like I want her to look at where I've placed words, and I want her to look at the font, because she and I both see different aspects of neuro diversity. So like I understand what's gonna really unnerve someone with ADHD, OCD, and then Kate looks at it, she understands dyslexia, she understands a lot of other neurodiverse ways of thinking. Like we both have different things that we know about, and we consider those as well. So it's not just for a neurotypical experience. We try to make our books for everyone. So that's why there's also journals, there's also audio books in the books. When you do the QR code, it's not just the discussion questions. And then there's like a link that takes you to a whole website where we're constantly updating it with new activities for those books, which is insane. Like I've never seen a book like that. And I think that's so cool. And I'm so excited for people to really see and utilize those, and get feedback from people and see how, it's intended for every child, and to be very inclusive of everybody, the best that we can, as close to hitting every person that we can. So it's nice to be able to, both of us look at a page and say, this is going to work, this won't work, let's make this word pop, let's change this color, things like that, because colors and dyslexia are important, how close a word is, what things like that. Like we really, really think through all that stuff, which is, something.
Absolutely.
That's something. It
is. And like, I will just throw in, that's a really good reason why, right? Not to get too into politics, why educators should be in conversations about kids and learning, because you think about all those things, right? Like just the thoughtfulness about word placement, having the audiobook so that someone else can experience it. Like just there's so much thought and care, right? You just didn't put words and pictures together. You really thought about the experience. And I think that's so unique about, your company.
Yeah. And that is really where we started. As Jessica mentioned earlier, we started as teachers. And so we started really thinking about the literacy gap in kids, especially at the high school level. You had kids who were really low Lexile scored and then really high. And there wasn't a lot of in between. And it was the kids who did not engage with reading at a younger age. They never could catch back up. And a lot of it had to do with they didn't want to. Like, what's the point? Why would you pick up a book and read it when there's Netflix or video games or your cell phone to play with, So that's one of the things that we always thought about. How do you make kids love reading? And as teachers, we had other types of activities that we would do in the classroom to really get kids involved or excited about the books we were reading in class. And then, the shutdown happened and I was stuck at home outside of my classroom for months. Actually, it was about 18 months where I was in North Carolina. And yes, I was still working. Yes, I was still doing all the online stuff, but you get stuck at home and I'm just wondering, like, what could I do to help this? And Jessica was right there. And me and her were talking every single day about what could we do to get kids to be excited about reading again? And it just kind of blew up every day, talking more and more about what we wanted to do and what we dreamed about doing. And here we are, 2023. So it's been 3 years now. And, we've got 16 authors and a bunch of illustrators, and we're all working together to make this happen. So
absolutely. And we were chatting before, and you all are putting out between 1 and 3 books a month?
Yes, this has been our big year. So every month this year, we've got between 1 and 3 books publishing. This month, The Lonely Chameleon and Olivia's Very Embarrassing Day are both coming out. So for the video, I will hold that up. This is The Lonely Chameleon, and it's actually an early reader chapter book. So we have added illustrations throughout the book. And as mentioned before, we've got guided reading questions and journal sections throughout the book. And, we're not crazy. We like to add the idea of writing in books because it actually does help kids retain the material better. It helps them engage with it. So we might be creating something that is more of a consumable products. They are expected to write and to draw and to color and to make it their own, but that allows them to fall in love with the story more. And of course, we also offer QR codes in the book to the journaling pages. So if parents really don't want them to write in their books, then they can always download and print their own pages for the kids to interact with it. Although we strongly advocate writing in your books. So
there's so many ways that kids think. So there are also like drawing moments too, because you can't just expect every kid to want to write. Maybe they draw symbols or like they process things. So there's space to also use your creative side for everybody to express themselves as they read. So
yep.
I love that. And so you have about 16 authors, you have illustrators, you're putting out books each month. I mean, are y'all considered indie? Are you considered traditional? Please share it. What type of publishing? Are you hybrid? What do y'all fall under?
So we are definitely a traditional style publishing house, but we are an indie publishing house. So when we talk about hybrid versus traditional publishing, as far as the model of your business, a hybrid publisher is someone who's going to charge you as an author upfront to publish your book. And a lot of people decide to go that way because it allows them to have, they get greater royalties from their books. They have more control of what the book looks like. And it's an easy process. They spend the money, they get their book published, and it's over. Now they have to maintain the rest of the marketing side themselves. However, a traditional model of a publishing house is one where you submit your manuscript into the publishing house, and then someone from that publishing house will either approve or reject the manuscript. Once it's approved, then we take full financial risk on the book. We're not going to ask you for any money. We're going to put all of our own money into seeing the project through. So it starts with a manuscript. We send the books to our illustrators. We get the formatting done. We get the page design done. We cover the cost for copyrights and all of the ISBN numbers and even the print runs when they first publish. So when we take on a manuscript, we truly believe in the message and the author and the book itself. And that's what we do. But we are considered indie because we're small. We're not a huge publishing house yet. However, we have aspirations to burst the indie bubble at some point.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/ARTS. Just go to Indeed.com/ARTS right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
I'll ask you more about that, but Jessica, anything that you want to add about, your style of publishing?
I think that Kate and I wanted to go the traditional route specifically because we only want to publish books that we believe in, we truly feel are going to bring a joy to reading or a joy back to reading for that kid picking that book up. And so every single book that we say yes to, I end up having a deep love. I love those books as much as I love the 4 books that I've published under my name. So I feel as invested in those books as I did writing it myself, and all of that. Like, I truly feel like both of us care so much about each book, and I think that it shows, and we make sure that we only put them out when they're ready. We don't force them to be published when they're not ready. Like, every single thing, we're like, okay, it's done. It can go out to the world. This is going to be the best for kids and families, and it's something we deeply believe in. And I think that matters so much when you're talking about books. We're both moms. We both have been educators, so we truly care about what a child is reading, what messages they're exposed to, all of that. So I just think that if people know how much we deeply care, then there's this level of trust, like, hey, I can show this to my kid and they're getting something good out of this. Like, someone cared enough to do this and not just throw it together and say, sure, you can have a public.
Absolutely. You definitely can see that the care and the thought that y'all have put in to the creation of these books. And I'm curious, right? Are they just children's books? Are they just for, preschool, kind of what are the type of books that you are putting out?
So right now we have mostly children's books, but they do vary in ages. So we've got several books that are for toddlers up to preschool, first grade. Then we have other books that are a little bit more complex in the diction. So they're more age range to 6 to 8. And then again, we have our early reader chapter book that is coming out this month. And so that's going to be, depending on the child's reading ability, it can either be a first or second grade book for someone who's reading at a higher level, or it's going to be a reading it's going to be for struggling readers, for an older kid in second or third grade. And then we actually have a series of YA novels that should start releasing in the spring. We're actually really excited. We just signed this author. Her books are amazing, and I cannot wait to start working with her and get those books out, because they really are, there's something else. So we're really excited about that.
Well, that makes me so excited for y'all. Are you are you also excited, Jessica? I saw that little chant you were doing.
Our goal has always been to hit ages 0 to 18, because we want to follow kids from the time that they're small and learning language all the way through. Because again, once you hit that high school level, you either love or hate reading. And Kate and I were really great at getting kids to enjoy these books that they were forced to read. That is not a typical skill. And so if we can catch kids young, foster that love of reading so that they can get to high school and succeed, because literacy literally helps you with every subject. And so I'm super excited, and I'm really excited to be doing some lessons and journals and activities for high schoolers in those. Like, I think Kate and I created like Instagram and TikTok activities that apply to books to get kids really into it. We could easily take those, apply it to our books and have them in there and like really make it fun. And who knows what will happen from there. Like, I'm so excited to see what happens.
Oh my goodness. You can see the care that you've put in, but also on the author side, I can see how nice it would be to be able to come and have that support and not have to do it all on your own. But in case people are skeptical, right? Like, why should, and I'll ask you, like, what does the process look like to get involved? But why should someone choose Tabletop? If they're still like, I don't know, I want all the control of self-publishing, why y'all?
Do you want to jump in with that, or you want me to go ahead? No, I liked what you said.
Like, we have our authors' backs. We chose them for a reason. We're all like-minded. We all are invested emotionally into the book. So we're with you every step of the way. It's so overwhelming. Like, I could not have published my first book without Kate's support. I would have just said, it would have never been a thing. It would have been written, it would have been done. kids, which is really a sad thought. But I needed someone to say, hey, I can handle getting it out to people and publishing it and figuring out all this other stuff, because as a creative person, I can do the creative part, but the research that goes into publishing and marketing and social media exposure, all that is very overwhelming on your own. And now that we've been doing it for 3 years and we've grown on social media and we've really learned a lot and we've both done so much research, you get someone who has your back, who has your best interest. And we always say in every single phone meeting, like, if we do choose to sign you, if you don't like something, we take that to heart. We want you to love your book. How sad would it be if you're out at this cool author event and you've got a book that you don't like the cover and you don't like the edits, you don't like how the end result, like, that's not okay. We talk to our authors. We're probably one of the few traditional publishers that really takes feedback to heart from our authors. So it doesn't mean that we're going to say yes to everything. It doesn't mean that we aren't going to say, like, listen, this is the best thing for your book and here's why. We'll always give you a why, but it means a lot to us if you don't like your book and you don't like something that we did. And so I don't think there's traditional publishers out there that care that deeply about how their authors feel about their books at the end of the day, because they want the bottom line. We want everyone to be, we want people to be happy, and we want kids to have the best book possible. Like, our bottom line is, do the kids love their book? And that's also a big difference. It's not about money. It's about getting those kids the experience, the knowledge, the education, the literacy development, all of the things, the social emotional lessons, like, that are important to us. We care more about that than the bottom line at the end of the day. So that's why I think Tabletop, I would want to be an author with us. We're pretty nice.
Listen, I don't even have a children's book. I'm like, oh, listen, y'all seem like, again, I love how you touched upon, it's like you take the best of the traditional as far as the structure, the support, but also we'll say the spirit of hybrid, where you're very thoughtful about the author and, like, just the entirety, not only the author, but also the reader. And so that's wonderful, just the entire spirit of it all.
Aw, thanks.
Absolutely.
Right.
Now, I'm curious, for those who are listening, they're just like, oh my God, I want to be a part of Tabletop. What does that process look like, right? Do they come with you with just an idea? Do they come manuscript finished and edited? And it'll, what does that look like for y'all?
So on our website, we have a little button that says publish with us. So you can go to the website, click on publish with us, and then there's a place where you can submit your manuscript. So we ask for a book synopsis and your manuscript. Sometimes people already have their illustrations done, or they have a really determined idea about their illustrations. So they already go ahead and get those. If you have illustrations, then we're happy to see those as well, but we're not always going to want to use pre-created illustrations. And that's just because there's a lot of stuff that goes behind illustrations that people don't necessarily think about when they're paying for illustrations, especially if you're like an author who's trying to self-publish and you're maybe following a budget. You get the illustrations you can afford, and that's not always the best illustrations for the books, which is why for us, it was super important for us to get illustrators that we loved and whose artwork was going to be so powerful in our books. And so we would prefer to have we would prefer not to have illustrations with the manuscripts, to be honest. And that way we have that creative ability to move forward. But that doesn't mean that we won't look at illustrations. And we also have our authors work with the illustrators to make sure that they also love the illustrations that we are creating as well. Anyway, so moving on with that. Once you submit your manuscript, it takes maybe a month or 2, sometimes 3, depending on how backed up we are, for us to go through the manuscripts. And then we send a very polite rejection if it's not a book that we're interested in moving forward with. And there's a lot of reasons why we might reject a book. Again, because we are a traditional publishing house, we have to make sure that it's something that we believe we can grow with. and we are putting in 100% financial risk with every book we take. So we have to make sure that it is something that fits our brand. And our brand is very specific. Again, it has to be a children's book or middle grade novel or YA book that reaches children from 2 to 18. And it also needs to focus on some sort of emotional, social emotional learning or developmental learning or some life lesson or skill that also fits in with the story as well. So there's a lot there that we're looking for. But once you feel that your manuscript's ready to be read, then we'll go through, we'll read it, and then we'll either send you a letter to move forward or not. And again, if we move forward, then what we're doing is we're setting up a meeting where we get to meet with the author and talk about the books. And this is where we kind of share with the authors what we do and how we'll be editing the books and what we'll be adding to the books and the time period process that it takes, because each book can take anywhere from a year to 2 years to actually get out into the world. And sometimes that shocks people. Like sometimes authors are like, what? It's going to take a whole year? And it does. It takes a long time to get the illustrations right, the format right. You have to get proofs from the printer and all those things. And I think a lot of people don't realize all the things that go into it. So anyway, but that's kind of the process in a nutshell. And then eventually we send a contract and it's either signed or not. So
I love that. And when you say that the manuscript is ready, do y'all expect it to be like edited or just kind of like, just, kind of what is the ideal for y'all?
So we always are going to do slight edits. We don't, if there's edits that we see need to be made or anything like that, that's not going to be cause for rejection. We are perfectly capable of copy editing a work. We're perfectly capable of making sure that everything sounds right. And honestly, there's never been a book that we didn't have to edit a little bit. So for us, it's more about having the concept, having the understanding of what it is your book is meant to do, meant to say, because that's what we're looking at. We're looking at, did that book have that social emotional theme that needs to be taught? Right. Is that book diverse? Is that book inclusive? Is this a topic that we feel is strong enough to fit our brand? And, that's what we're looking at more so than the perfect polished manuscript.
I love that.
Mm-hmm. And what's nice is that we'll take notes when we read a book. We send it to each other, and then we take that for the initial meeting. It doesn't mean that so if we're interested, we set up a meeting, we're going to talk to them. Kate usually handles that because she knows all the business side. So anything to do with contract questions, I could do it, but I'm not the expert. So I'm the wrong person for that. But if I can be in the meeting, so usually you'll talk to Kate. Maybe I'll be able to hang out on the line with you guys, but we go through everything that we would want to edit before you sign the contract. Like if there's going to be any major changes or suggestions that are significant, that way you don't sign a contract and you're thrown to the wolves and not expecting us to discuss changes. And we say it's okay, but at least like these are things that we want to change. And I think that's important to know because there's a level of safety because we're upfront.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I was going to say that transparency is very comforting, right? Like you don't, again, thinking about the author side, don't want to be like, oh yeah, like let's do this. And then you find out like, oh, we want to change this, and those might be deal breakers. So I love that level of transparency. Right. Thank you, ladies, so very much. Kind of curious, what is your plan going forward? Like what would be the dream?
So I have two of those, like possible ways we could go about this. And I mean, honestly, there's so many things that I just hope to grow and be able to do. So I know that as a small indie publishing house right now, I would absolutely love it if we were to continue to grow and expand, to have our brand truly known by enough people around the world or in the United States to where we could break that bubble of indie publishing to just a standard publishing house that is well known by everybody. And then of course there's always that little idea of maybe one of the big five likes our imprint and wants to add us to their big five establishment.
Can you share a little bit about that? And then Jessica, I want to know if you have any additional dreams. But because I don't think a lot of people realize that under the big five, like the Simon Schuster and things like that, that there's other publishers. Can you share just a little bit about that?
Oh, right. So you have the big five, and those are the most well-known publishing houses. But the thing that a lot of people don't really understand or realize maybe is that each of those publishing houses has a lot of like imprints within them. So you're buying a book and you think it's a different publishing house, but it's actually just an imprint owned by the same big five company. And that's one of the things that they do is they find other publishing houses that are being successful, that do have great books signed with them, and they will make partnerships or buy the company and add the imprint to their own stock, and then you just get the support of a major corporation like that, which would be really awesome for both us and our authors, I think, in the future. But to be able to stand on our own would also be an equal, if not better, dream in the future.
Absolutely, two wonderful dreams. And again, I think that's also amazing for your authors because, it's sometimes that big five seems like too unreachable, but knowing like you can still have that with, we'll say like a smaller publisher, right? Like, and I only mean small because it's just your number is small, like you're doing these big things.
Right. And that's another thing. Like, we're very honest, we tell our authors that we are just an indie publishing house, but that doesn't mean that we're not a publishing house. We get their manuscripts and we create amazing books with unique things that other publishing companies are not doing. And we also do a lot of marketing that other publishing companies don't necessarily do. Like, they'll have marketing deals that they do as a publishing house for a whole slew of books, but they don't necessarily help each individual author with their marketing and to make book sales. For a lot of publishing houses, it's just, does the book sell or not? Mm-hmm. And it's up to the author to maintain their marketing and their presence and their following and things like that. So one of the things that we do with our authors is we give them training on how to set up their author pages, and we give them advice on how to reach their audience and to share their books. And then we also have a whole side of the business that is marketing, and we rotate our books through marketing channels and things like that.
Fantastic. Lovely. And Jessica, like, what is like the dream that you kind of see for Tabletop?
So my dream is to see, I would love, like, we get some really cool pictures of kids reading our books or doing activities. Be so inundated with them that we can't keep up with them, and that there's just so many things coming our way. We've got I think it's going to be in our interactive version of Moby Plays the Flute, where you can like write to Moby and hear back from her. I want to like be so to like and just feel the love from the kids with those books like so much that I can't breathe. Like, that would be great. That's kind of what I'm thinking, because I have the same dreams as Kate, but like thinking about that impact and like how big of an impact do I want it to be, and how much feedback do I want to be seeing from kids, sending it in on social media from thanks to their parents, sending us, tagging us in photos and stuff like that would be.
Oh yeah, that brand awareness would be just amazing, just to see people who like know us and love us. And we have following, like we have people on social media and stuff, but just to have, oops, I bumped my microphone anyway, but just to see people like interact with us and to want to do that.
Absolutely. And, listen, if schools are listening and want your books, how can people connect with you? If there's someone across the world and they want to publish, can you share, contact information, website, how do we reach you?
Oh, absolutely. So our website is tabletopteachingllc.com, and you can actually just search Google for Tabletop Publishing. We'll pop up. And that's the thing is our company name, Tabletop Teaching LLC, is everything. And then the imprint that we're using is Tabletop Publishing. So you can go to the website and contact us. If you're a teacher or a school and you're looking for a classroom set of books, we offer special pricing. So you can just contact me directly through our website, and I can get back to you with information about that. And we also offer author readings to schools. So if any schools are interested in an author visit from one of our wonderful 16 authors, we have also discounts for books if you're going to include an author reading as well. And you can, if you're an author who is looking for a publishing house, you can go to the Publish with Us tab and submit your work directly to us with the email. So
lovely. And if y'all missed any of that, it will be in the episode show notes. Oh my God, one last question, I promise. Watch I have two, but the other one is, what if there's someone that has self-published and they have their book and they're like, ooh, I want to like republish it with y'all. Is that an option? Are you looking for work that has not been published yet? What is ideal for y'all?
Okay, I'm going to jump in with this one too. This is kind of a complicated question. You may not realize it, but it is. So if someone has already self-published a book, that is not a deal breaker for us. We definitely have actually signed a couple of authors who have previously published a book and then we're republishing it. But something that you need to understand and consider, if you're looking at republishing a book, then there's two ways to do that. Either we're publishing a second edition where it's minor changes and we're keeping the same name with a new ISBN. But if we have to do a certain amount of changing to it, and especially if the title is no good, then what we're really doing is we're going to ask that you shelve or get rid of the original book, and then we're going to come out with a whole new book that is similar to your original publishing. And so that would, it would just be a conversation that we have to have about what is going to happen with the book that you've already published. So, but we definitely still look at that.
Oh my God, y'all do it all.
Maybe a little too much of everything. We're very ambitious. We're so busy all the time, but I love it. It's the best job in the world.
If you want to be able to talk to both of us, Tabletop Teaching has a team email address. It's tabletopteam@tabletopteachingllc.com. Isn't that right? Is that right?
Yes.
So
yes.
if you're a consulting or a teacher, I would prefer you to send us an email. If you're an author, submit your book. That's going to be the best way to get your book noticed by us. But those direct emails will be great for scheduling you for author readings. You get to choose your book. You get to choose whether or not you want party prizes with it. If you know, there's activities with every author reading. So let us know what you're looking for, and we can direct you.
Yes. And to clarify, if you go to the contact us page on our website, that will take you to the Tabletop team email, and you'll be able to send us any inquiries you have about getting those books.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Again, you have done so much in such a short amount of time. Listen, I'm excited for everything that you have coming up. But before I ask my very last question, any last words that you want to leave folks with?
Oh, I think I honestly, no matter if you get books from us or somewhere else, I think that it's really important. Like, please let your kids choose the books that they want to read. And if they want to read the same book a million times, just keep reading the same book. They're getting something from that. It's really important to them. Every time you reread it, they're getting something new from it, believe it or not, even though your brain is numb and you've memorized it. Because it really does foster that love of reading, because it's one of the few things you can give them control of. You can't control what time they start school. You can't control when their doctor's appointments are. There's so much out of their control, but give them the control to pick their books and love their books, and just giving them those choices. You don't have to give them the whole library at night, but pick out 4 and give them a choice. Like, you get to pick one of these 4 books, and just do those little things throughout their life where they get to have that choice in their reading experience. And you're going to see big results from that, both language, literacy, their emotional development, how well they do in all of their subjects, because they're good at communicating, they're solid at reading, they can read a textbook even though they don't want to, they have to, and figure it out because you've set them up for success with their literacy. So just give them that choice. That's my thing.
Kate, any last words?
Just to bounce off of that, I will say that, we started as advocates for literacy. We've always been advocates for literacy. And as we continue to push out books, we will continue to focus on that as well. So we just hope that everyone else can join us and our journey to creating books that are truly engaging and help literacy and bridging the gap.
I love that again. And I love that, again, you're not just putting out books, you're putting out books that have meaning and encourage kids to read. And as someone who was an avid reader as a kid, I appreciate that. And I appreciate just the diversity of your books and the way that you are being inclusive. So again, kudos to both of you.
Yay, thank you.
All right, my last question before I let you go is, so I like to end with like a word or a phrase that folks can use in like a writing prompt or however they express creativity. So whether it's music, dance, whatever. So this will be 2 words. So I'll ask both of you for a word or a phrase that we can use in a writing prompt. So what do you have for us? What was it, Jessica? I didn't catch you.
Force.
Hold on, I heard Space Force. I don't think that was it.
Dinosaurs.
Oh,
Dino.
Okay. Okay, dinosaur. What about you, Kate?
I'm going to say down the rabbit hole.
Oh, that's a good one.
Okay, why dinosaur and why down the rabbit hole?
Well, dinosaurs for me because my first 3 books all have dinosaur characters. I did a ton of research. I fell in love with Ray Bradbury's, I've been having a lot of memory problems lately. Just forgive me. It's my favorite short story. Kate, you must know what I'm talking about. He goes back in time, steps on a butterfly to shoot dinosaurs. It's like a whole, like, you don't know what I'm talking about?
No.
Okay.
You lost me.
In high school with science fiction and like playing with timelines and dinosaurs, and I love Jurassic Park growing up, and so I use dinosaurs for my fellow dino lovers in my books. So that's why dinosaurs for me. I'm obsessed with them. Yeah. So
Nice. All right, why down the rabbit hole, Kate?
Oh, that's just because it's kind of the euphemism for my life. I went down the rabbit hole with Jessica in the whole publishing house, and it has led to some amazing things. And I feel that creating stories where the characters are going on explorations and diving into what they're experiencing are wonderful stories and things for other kids to read, because it gives them the self-confidence and the courage to follow their own paths and dreams, even if they are a little wonky.
I think it's called Sound of Thunder, the short story. Just if anybody's interested, Ray Bradbury, Sound of Thunder.
Sound of Thunder. Okay, now I remember. Okay, sorry, my bad.
Lovely. And listen, you all know how it goes. Stay to the end of this episode to see what I do with the prompt. Dinosaur and down the rabbit hole. I think I will have a little bit of fun with this. So
Yay.
Thank you both for this prompt, and keep us updated with all the wonderful things that you're doing.
Thank you.
Kimmy called Kevin the long-necked dino who stomped through the forest on the hunt for his friend. Splat went something gooey and smelly under Kevin's foot. Ew, he groaned and tried to wipe the brown goop from his toes. I'll have to be more careful, he said as he stomped deeper into the forest. Kimmy, his friend, was very tiny, while Kevin was very big. but that didn't stop them from having a blast of a time. As Kevin searched for his friend, he got a little hungry, so he took a chomp off a branch. "Yummy and very leafy," he said. "Give me one, please," called a tiny voice down below. Stretching his long neck to the ground, Kevin nose-bumped Kimmy, his long-eared rabbit friend. Kevin was a dinosaur and Kimmy was a rabbit. Even though playtime was sometimes different than when they played with their other friends, it was always very special. After a quick nose bump, Kevin swung his tail and knocked it against the tree. Bang! The tree rattled like it was in a windstorm. "Yay!" laughed Kimmy, dancing as the leaves fell like snowflakes. Kimmy munched on some tasty green leaves and Kevin took some from the top. When Kimmy's belly was full of healthy treats, she said, "I can't play today, Kevin. I have to go home and clean my room." Kevin's eyes drooped and his smile went away when Kimmy said she couldn't play. Kimmy's ears flopped as she too got sad. "Hey," Kevin said, and his eyes brightened as he smiled. "What if I helped you clean your room?" Kimmy didn't know about this idea. She had been to Kevin's house, and her home looked very different. "I don't know," she said as her nose twitched nervously. "It will be okay. I am a good helper. Show me the way," he said. Kimmy was glad Kevin wanted to help, and she really wanted to play. So she hopped on Kevin's tail, and he placed her on his head. Kevin stepped forward, and Kimmy led the way. When they got to her home, she slid down his long neck, across his back, and around his spiral tail. "Whee!" Kimmy laughed. Kevin laughed too as her furry body tickled his skin. Kimmy hopped to the hole and jumped in. When Kevin leaned his eye to the hole, all he saw was a dark space. "Come in," Kimmy's voice echoed. But seeing her home, Kevin wasn't so sure this was a good idea. He said down the rabbit hole, "I don't think I can fit." Kevin placed his eye to the hole again, and then he jumped back when Kimmy's body rushed to the top. Kimmy popped her head out, then wiggled her body out. She looked from the tiny hole to Kevin's massive body. If you can't help me inside, maybe you can help me outside." This made Kevin smile wide, so wide that all you could see were his shiny white teeth. "I can move back these broken logs and bite back some of these trees so you can have more light," Kevin said. Kimmy's ears fluttered excitedly. "Thank you, and we can talk to each other through the tunnel," Kimmy said. With a nose bump, their plan was made. Kimmy slid down the hole, and Kevin ate away at the branches, with both of them singing along the way.